told you I'd be talking to you again soon. Rebecca here. I wanted to share with you guys a philosophy of failure that I have. I believe that between me and where I'm trying to get, there are a certain number of failures. So every time something fails, I don't get the expected outcome. I set a goal, I try and do something, it doesn't work out. For whatever reason, it's like, oh, okay, well, that's one less failure out of the way. And so that, that has been very helpful, developing that attitude, because, when you're young, and especially if you've been brought up in one of these places where it's like, oh my gosh, you did something wrong, now you must die. Failure can be a really daunting thing. Like, there is so much stuff that people want to or intended to do with their lives that they don't because they're afraid of the failure, and so this is like, no, between you and where you're trying to go, like, you're going to have a certain number of failures. And so each time you have to approach, like, is this the one that works? And then if it doesn't work, it's like, okay, well, that's one more out of the way. Right? I mean, what else is there to do? What are you going to do? Just not do anything? No, don't do that. Just change the way you look at it, And then, but the real secret, I think, is to learn to fail up, which is, of course, a phenomena we're all familiar with. We, see it writ large all the time with mediocre people or terrible people who rise to positions of power and prominence. There's actually, I think it's called the Peter Principle inside corporate or organizations, where the idea is, like, at some point it's like the person who's least qualified and least able to do the job gets there and just sits there or keeps failing upward. I don't know why. Like, they're convinced they have potential, so they keep giving them more. Oh, you weren't good at this one. Well, maybe if we give you more, that will help. Maybe this is just too lowly for you. So I don't know. It's stupid, but anyways, it is a phenomena, and it's actually a phenomena that you can learn to take advantage of. And I've used it and I've seen it in action, and I really learned it from the woman who ran Love Talks, Linda. And she had this philosophy that when something broke, she's, very spiritually minded. So she was like, well, this is the enemy trying to stop us. And this is actually, we're going to use it as an opportunity to upgrade. So I used to tell people that she started off pulling a wagon, and by the time I got to Portland to help on the ground, I had been working, back on website and communications and whatnot. By the time I got there, there were like a trailer and a truck and tents and lights and all this stuff. And I would tell people, so she started with the wagon and now we have all this, and this is how much stuff broke. Like, she was just like, it broke. Okay, it needs to be replaced, obviously, because we're not going to stop doing what we're doing. So since it's a chance to replace it, let's figure out how to make it better. And that really is like one of the great secrets, is when are fortunes made? Fortunes are made during downturns. It's probably why they're triggered as well. It allows for those who are best positioned to do so to consolidate, to extract as much as they can from everyone else very quickly. So, but you can basically use the same kind of principle for yourself, like when I've been sharing this story of, how I was put out on the street and all this nonsense. When this all went down and I had like literally absolutely nothing and no one other than Linda, and, but that's like way far away from home and not sustainable. And, all of that, like, okay, this is an opportunity. You're going to put me in this position. Fine. I'm going to do, have a chance to build a life that works the way I want it to work. That's my objective. And every single day I took steps towards my objectives, even if they were tiny, tiny, tiny steps. And if something wasn't working, I didn't say, fall for this whole, because people will try and do this to you, like, the whole sunk cost fallacy. I mean, obviously that's real, but they'll try and do that even when you're doing something well. And what you really need to do is just make it bigger. Maybe invest a little bit of money, and it will keep you small. It'll keep you, you'll like try something, fail at it, and feel like, oh gosh, I didn't do that right. And I have to figure out what went wrong. And maybe I should be doing something else. And, and it gets you really, really stuck. And we are definitely quite likely going to be facing times where we're going to be having to figure out how to use failure to create something from. It's a skill. It's an art form. You can do it. You can learn it. Of course, the people who fail upward in organizations are benefiting from those who are corrupt and or stupid, who birds of a feather and all that jazz. So, that's why that happens there, but you can make that work in your own life, and especially if there are people who will invest into you. The whole reason I survived this thing was because back in, I think it was 2014, a man who had read my writings reached out to me. He said, look, he asked me never tell anyone any identifying information or who I am. But he said, I am a very, quite well-to-do person, and I feel like God has told me to come to you and ask you what you need. And I said, if I had it to do over again, I might have said, I need to get away from this crazy person. But that just, yeah. I was like, I need a laptop and a camera. And those are the two things that I use to get through this. This laptop let me, carry on work I was already doing and begin multiplying it. I took what I had. I had built websites for charity, for people as well as my own. And I started, did some hustling, got some business out of that. Thank you to the people who took a risk on me. I hope it was okay. I was in a rough place. I think I did a good job. But anyway, wherever you're at, like you have something, you have a voice, you have thoughts, you have other things you've tried and failed before. There's that story that Jesus told about the tree that wasn't bearing fruit. And he said, let's go and add the fertilizer to it one more time, and it's funny because that story, that's how it ends. They're going to go and they're going to, he says, no, give it fertilizer. Let's give it one more try. And that's how the story ends. And, maybe that's you. You need to go see what happens if you add some fertilizer, if you try and get this thing that you have been growing to work one more time. Sometimes all you need is that little shoot, that little leaf that says, oh, there's something here. I could do this. So yeah, you can fail upward just like everybody else. Everybody else. Use it. Use your failures. You're good. So anyways, that's what I have to share with you. If you would like to, I meant to tell you, you really have to go to my website, theupsidedownworld.com. And under the section is like the Upside Down World Live-ish. That's where the videos are. Look in there. There are a couple of videos there from on the street in Portland. One is from shortly after I got there, so you could see what it already was when I got there. And then, then there's another one from Christmas, but what she had built it into by Christmas. So you can see like the dramatic, results that you can get when you are failing upwards. All right. So love you all. Bye.